So I'm Dena Jensen, and I'm here for Sun and Moon Yoga on both of their platforms, the YouTube channel and also the Instagram, our Instagram account. So today's practice is about seeking balance, and it's a quest. It's really sort of a lifelong journey. And on the mat, there are a variety of things that we can do, some techniques that we can use to seek some balance on the mat. And of course, like everything in yoga, it relates to our life, because yoga is all about the way we live our life. Yes, we stand on the mat and we put our bodies into shapes and we breathe and we feel great afterwards. And it's a wonderful starting point. But what yoga is, it's a full practice that we embody off of the mat, how we live our life. So keep in mind as we go through the practice today that there's no perfection. There's no way to live our life in balance at all times. And if we attach to that idea or cling to it, then we'll bring on some suffering that is unwarranted, because life is all about getting out of balance, falling out of balance, and then with grace, how do we get back to our balance? So in the poses that we do, rather than getting frustrated, it's okay if you get frustrated with something, witness it, and then see if you can start to embody some equanimity, some grace, and let that be a lesson as you come back to a pose. And of course, in life, how much out of balance have we all been during this pandemic? There have been so many things that we have been missing and wishing, and maybe looking back on pre-pandemic times and realizing things that were out of balance there, perhaps your commute or your work time, or the time that you weren't spending with family and friends. And then we had the pandemic and everything got out of balance and we were all at home and that felt like that was too much. And as we start to open up back to the world again, can we use all of these experiences to navigate until we can find just moments, breaths of balance, and then witnessing when you get off balance and let that be your teacher and your guide. So just be sort of thinking about some of those things as we go through the practice today. If you have a blanket that might be helpful to you, and a block or anything that might lift the floor up a little bit, even a pillow could be helpful today. Okay, so we will begin on taking a tall seat, or you're welcome to lie down. I'm going to fold up my blanket and then take a nice tall seat. One of the things that makes yoga so different are these moments that we take before we begin the active practice, and the moments we take at the end of our active practice, those bookends, those rituals. So if you're taking a tall seat, it's always nice to sit up on sits bones or butt bones. You can pull the flesh out, or you can lean forward a little bit and feel the sits bones, and then lift the spine nice and tall. And if you're lying down, take a comfortable seat and feel grounded. Wherever you are, try to feel some balance. So if you're in a tall seat, it's common that you may lean a little bit to one side or another. So you'll feel more weight underneath one sit bone or another sit bone. And just see if you can even out a little bit. It may not be perfect balance. Sorry, I'm getting a notification. I hope this is working. I'm not sure this is all working. Well, at least I think on Instagram Live, and that will be recorded. Oh, technology. So I'm going to come back into balance. So noticing the balance, the evenness between sits bones, and even between your knees. One knee might be a little higher than another. Notice anything that's touching the ground. Is there some equal or balanced weight? And then you might close your eyes and start to feel your own breath. And now noticing, self-study, if the inhale or the exhale is a little bit longer than the other, or shorter, or if it's balanced. And then with your own awareness, can you even out the breath? So extend whichever part of your breath felt a little shorter. And if that awareness is a little hard to find, go ahead and count. So count in maybe 4 breaths for an inhale and 4 breaths on an exhale. If that feels too short or too long, change it. To suit you. And be aware if the mind wanders and come back to your counting or come back to your awareness for even breath. And after your next full exhale, let's release your breath pattern. And you can go back to this even breathing at any time during the practice. So our first pose today, after our seated or lying down pose, is to come on your side body. And this is where a blanket can come in handy if you feel like your side hips sometimes get a little bony or aren't comfortable lying on your side. Open up a blanket. Okay, so I'm going to open up my blanket. So this will be our first balance pose, and our relationship with gravity is interesting because we're low to gravity. So it doesn't feel quite as threatening if we fall out of this side lying pose. You can also put something behind you, like a bolster. You can be up against a piece of furniture, and just choose a side and lie down on one side. Vishnu's couch. So extend one arm and let that be a pillow for you, and see if your legs can be in line with the rest of the torso. Activate the bottom leg, pull the belly in, let the hand, the top arm, the fingertips just be on the ground and hold you here. Take a breath. Good. Okay, so now we'll add a little complexity. Let's see about putting the top arm overhead, maybe even palms together. What's that feel like? And then the last bit of challenge we'll add is movement. So lifting the top arm and the top leg up on a breath and then lowering. Lift and lower. And let's combine with breath. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Very nice. So you can just roll on your stomach and roll over to your other side. I'm going to flip so that you can see me. And let's do this on the other side and see what's happening on the other side. So lie down, extend the bottom arm. Let that be a pillow for you. Activate your legs. The bottom leg is strong and active. Slight drawing in of the abdomen to give you some extra support. And just notice if the legs are in line with the torso, if they're in front of the torso. And start with your top hand, the fingers on the ground, and feel a breath. And then add a little challenge. Lift your arm up overhead and take a breath. And then let's add in some more challenge, lifting the top arm into top leg and lower. Lift and lower. And add in breath. Inhale as you lift. Exhale as you lower. Inhale as you lift. Exhale, lower. One more time. Inhale and exhale. All right, very nice. So just roll over, come on up. We're going to do some cat-cows. So fold that blanket up to support your knees, or just get rid of it if you don't need it for your knees. And come into tabletop. Beginning in your table pose, and let's find equalness in the hands. So plant your hands down, spread out your fingers, and just try to have an equal and balanced amount of space in between each of your fingers. And have a good equal balance between your left hand and your right hand. Pressing a little bit more now into the root of your index pad and the root of your thumb pad, and maybe gripping slightly with the fingertips. Point the toes straight back. Take a breath in, and then on an exhale, cat pose, rounding the spine to the ceiling, dropping the head and the tailbone, and maybe even curl your toes under. Inhale, release the toes, flip the spine, flip your breath, pull the shoulders back. Exhale into your cat. If you liked curling the toes under, do that. Rounding the spine, and inhale into your cow. Now add on equal breath. So on an exhale, maybe count to 4. And on an inhale into cow, count to 4. And go back and forth with your equal breath, deciding if you're tucking toes or not. That might just add too much complexity. So a few more cat-cows with even breath. Okay, so come on back to table. We're going to do some child's to Cobra. I'm going to take my blanket out from under me. You can keep yours there. Walk your hands forward of your shoulders. Take a breath in, and on a breath out, pull the hips back as you lower the head down. Hips can go back as far as you want. Lift the fingers in the palms if your hips are back pretty far. Get a stretch out the fingers. When an inhale comes, shift forward, shoulders over wrists, drop the hips down, push the floor away from you, shine the heart forward, high cobra. Exhale into your child's, pull back, drop the head, maybe lift the fingers and palms, and then inhale into that cobra, pushing the ground away from you. And then feel the breath. Maybe exhale 4 or 5 as you come into child's. And then try to inhale an equal amount of breath coming into Cobra. Go back and forth with your own breathing. Trying to breathe in and out through the nose. Remember, in the child, you can be lifting the fingers and the palms. Let's have this be the last time. Good. Okay, let's stretch out the wrists. So just take a break, and you can stand up on your knees and circle out your hands, either loosed fingers or fists. Maybe open and close a few times. Shake it out. Okay, so let's do the table balance pose. So you might want to put that blanket under your knee again. Come into table pose, find equal balance in the hands, feel the knees grounding, toes pointed straight back. And then choose a foot and reach it behind you as you curl the toes under. So the knee that's on the ground, that might come in a little bit to center if that would help you, or it can stay right underneath your hip. Push the ground away from you, pull the front body in, and now lift the straight leg, the back leg up. Just a little bit of a hover so that your hips stay pointed down. And then if you would like to add an opposite arm. So this is a lot of pressure on your standing hand. You could come down on an elbow, or you could be on a fist. And then come on back to table, and let's do the other side. If you need to take a break to shake out wrists, take a break. And then join me extending the opposite leg behind you, pushing the ground away from you, pulling the front body in. And then when you're ready, lift that back leg, not too high, so the hips are level. And this is a place that you might stay, or you might add an opposite arm. And always try to find a soft focus and breath. So those are some of the techniques for balance. So relationship with gravity is pretty friendly because we're quite close. There's going to be wobbles. Notice when you're coming out of balance and then when you find like you're in balance, and then come on back to table, and let's stretch out those wrists. So wrist flossing is really nice. If you want to stand up and then clasp your fingers, have your palms face down, and let the bottom hand drop and pull the top hand back a little bit, and then go to the other side. So one hand drops down, an arm drops down, and that does the stretch for the opposite hand. And just a little back and forth. Very nice. Okay, so let's come on up to a standing posture, the mountain pose. So we'll stand and find balance between our feet. Feet are hip distance underneath your hips. Lift up all your toes, spread them, and put the toes back down. And then notice if you are leaning forward or back, and exaggerate it, right? So that contrast when we're out of balance helps us lean back. You feel like you're going to fall, and then just find the place that's right in the middle. Sometimes it can feel good to have a little extra weight in the heels. So feel free to explore that in mountain. And then a side to side, same thing. Lean one to one side and the other, just to give the input of, okay, this is out of balance on one side and then the other. And then try to get the evenness in both feet. So grounded and rooted through both feet, growing roots and feeling balanced. This is such a good pose to practice a variety of different skills, including balance, with our feet on the ground and supporting us. So hips are right over your ankles. Lift the crown of the head tall. Relax your shoulders. Turn the palms forward. And here we'll practice the techniques that we can incorporate in balance. So finding breath. Usually when you're out of balance, you hold the breath. So welcome in breath while you feel supported by both feet on the ground. And then find a soft focus externally. So you can look at something right in front of you, or a little bit down and in front of you, or look right at the horizon. And then we'll come into tree pose. So this, we may grab a block in a moment. We're going to stand strong on one leg, lean over. So you'll be a little out of balance for a moment because your center of gravity shifts. So center of gravity shifts to a standing leg, and then the other foot that gets light, and the knee turns out slightly as you put the foot in the opposite ankle. Toes still stay on the ground, and then we draw the hip of the standing leg in. We pull things back to the spine. Good. Find breath. Welcome in breath. Find a soft focus. In yoga, we call it the drishta or drishti. So you look at something softly, you feel yourself getting out of balance, and you keep coming back to balance. And if you're interested in climbing the foot up the standing leg at any time, you can do that. And I want to show you what we'll do with the block in a moment. Okay, come back to balance come back to mountain pose, standing on both feet. Just take a moment and fill a breath. And now shift your center of gravity to the other leg. Strong roots are supporting you, and then turn the opposite knee out. Keep the toes on the ground. I really like to begin the tree in this way, Rakshasana. So rooting down through the foot, growing roots to have the ground support you. Lift the spine out of the hips. Find a soft focus with the eyes, and welcome in breath. Usually we can, with a foot on the ground, we can welcome in the breath. Okay, come on out of that, shake things out. And if you're somebody that you have a block, or if you would have a pillow or something nearby, we're going to put that down to the side of your first standing leg. Okay. So sort of right in front of the foot, that the knee that's going to turn out. So come back into your mountain pose. Stand strong on the legs, lift through the crown, shift to your standing leg, find a focus, and then put the foot on that block. And you can, with your foot, you can bring it closer, wherever you need. So put your toes on the block at any height as you turn the knee out. Root into your standing foot, grow your spine tall. And if you want to add on some arms, you could put hands at your heart center, or goalpost arms, or arms overhead, eagle arms, arms to your side, any of these. And then welcome in breath. Maybe you can even find even breathing here. Okay, come on out, step out, shake out your standing leg. It's a lot on that standing leg. And let's do the other side. So get that block. If you felt like you wanted to go higher, well, do it on the same level on this side, and then we can go back one more time. Okay, shift your center of gravity to standing leg, grow roots. Bring that block wherever it feels like it will be supportive for you, and have your toes up on that block. Turning the knee out, growing roots, lifting tall. It's nice to start with the arms to your side and find breath. Making sure your hip is nice and supportive. Front body is pulling in just slightly to give you extra support. Find focus. And then add on arms. The arms you want to do. Embrace the swaying, embrace coming out of balance. If you fall out of the tree pose, it's a great teacher for you, that you realize it's okay, I'm safe, it's just yoga, and then get centered again and come back into the pose. And can you find breath? Maybe even breathing here. Very nice. Come on out, shake it out. If you were using the blocks, let's remove the block. And we'll come into a power pose, the chair pose. So stand in your mountain pose, ground through your feet. Take a breath in, lift the arms to shoulder height or next to your ears, and on your exhale, bend at the knees, shift the hips back just slightly like you're about to sit on a chair. And then notice the pressure on both feet. And can you feel an evenness in both feet? There'll be more weight in your heels. So get the weight a little bit more in the heels. Try to find the evenness between the left and the right heel. One more breath in and out. And then we'll bend at the hips, touch the ground, drop the head. Keep the knees bent if that feels good for you, or you can straighten the legs for a forward bend. Find breath. Again, notice if you are shifted to one side or the other. If you've noticed this throughout the class, that may be a pattern of yours, that you have more weight in one foot than the other. And we'll come back into chair pose, bending at the knees. Inhale, lift into chair. Straighten the legs, lift the arms, give a good stretch. And then bring the palms together, hands down the midline, stop at your heart. And take an even breath in and an even breath out. Okay, so the last part of the tree pose that I'd like to do is you can do your block at the next height up if you'd like. Okay, so I guess the block, it needs to come in towards you and to the inner, maybe big toe of your standing foot. If you want to go a little higher, use the block, or you can try it without a block. Okay, so let's start on your first leg and shift your center of gravity, grow your roots. Don't rush. It's been a real slow and easy class. I want you to just not easy, but approachable class. So I want you to focus on your breath. So standing really strongly on that leg, supported leg, turn the other knee out. And if you're on a block, you can put the foot up on the block, or if you want to walk your foot up the leg. At any time, you can try to pull the foot up to the inner thigh, pushing the inner thigh and the foot together. But let's not cling and be greedy about this pose and think that this is the only expression of tree. They're all important depending on what's happening with you during your day. So if you are someone that you've walked the foot all the way up, just notice if the hip of the bent knee is hiked way up. I'm going to try to get the hips to be level, try to get the side waist to be level and even, and be okay with this swaying. And again, adding in arms that feel soothing and comfortable to you. And then find your breath. Notice if the inhale or the exhale is longer or shorter, or if you're holding the breath, and try to even it out. Okay, let's step out, shake it out, and we'll do the other side. Okay, so get that block to support you at any height. Shift center of gravity to standing leg, really strong in that standing leg. Turning the opposite knee out, putting the foot on the block or keeping toes on the ground. And with patience and non-greed, if you would like to move the foot up higher on a block or higher on the body, take your time. And of course, you could be at a wall, or you could put a hand on a piece of furniture when you're practicing this. It's very supportive. So if your foot is higher, the hip hikes up, it will lift a little bit, but let's see if we can get a little bit more back to balance in the hips, a little bit more back to balance in the side waist. Finding those arms, whatever feels good for you. And then ending with making sure you're breathing, making sure you have an evenness in the breath. And if you fall, it's okay. It's only yoga. What a good place, an important place to practice falling out of balance on the mat. Okay, come on out. If you're still in it, let's shake things out. And it's time to wrap up. So if you could lie down on your backs, we'll just do one final pose. Number 4 pose. Bend your knees. Cross one ankle over the opposite thigh, right above the knee. Take a breath or two here. If you can reach, you can step the foot that was on the ground, lift that foot up, put your hands behind the thigh of that leg or around the front of the shin of that leg. Bend the elbows. Give a stretch to the hip that supported you in all of those standing Rakshasana poses, standing tree. Find the breath again. And then let's step out of that, go to the other side. So you've got a triangle shape in between your thighs. Take a breath. And then when you're ready, the foot that's on the ground, that steps off of the ground as that thigh draws in towards that same shoulder, putting your hands behind the thigh, putting your hands around the front of that shin. You could also use a strap. Feel the stretch in the hip. Okay, step the foot down, uncross, and let's just come back for a few seconds of even breathing. So arms to your side. You could take a tall seat if you'd rather. Tune into your breath. And can you feel the inhale and the exhale starting to balance out? Maybe count a little bit longer. If you've been at the 4 count, maybe try to do a 5-5 inhale, exhale, or a 6-6. Last cycle of breath. And now maybe stretch your legs out long, Shavasana. See if you can have your arms balanced to your sides. So the left and right arm are about equal distance away from the body. The legs are equal distance away from each other. The back of the head the pressure is right at the center of the back of your head. So your head isn't leaning to one side or another. And then once you feel that everything is pretty balanced, let go. Relax the face, the jaw. Let expression slide off your face. Relax your neck and throat, your shoulders. Relax the back body. Soften in the front body. Feel your arms and hands, your legs and your feet relax. Feel as if all the bones are dropping towards gravity, all the muscles softening, all of your worries dropping away from your physical body. Let go. Let the earth hold you. So if you are comfortable, I'll invite you to stay where you are, or if you're ready to move on with the day, slowly start bringing in the breath again. Bring movement as you wiggle fingers, toes, ankles, wrists. Maybe stretch. Bend the knees. Sometimes it feels really good to hug the knees. And we'll slowly work our way to the side. So lift an arm up, roll over to that side. And then sit up nice and tall. Anchor into both sits bones. Feel even as you sit. And let an inhale lift the spine tall. Exhale brings your hands to your heart. And please bow and an open mind to a noble heart. May we all learn to live like the lotus at home in the water.